This Week in 40K.
Good morning and welcome to This Week in 40K for August 22nd, 2023. I'm not Colin, I am Billy. This is the show about the grim dark that is neither grim nor dark. As you can tell if you're watching this live, and I'm off-centered in the bottom left, and there's no Colin with his dulcet tones welcoming you this morning. Colin is on a business trip. Real life is getting the best of him, and so you're stuck with just me for today's episode. And it will be a slightly abridged episode because, quite frankly, there's not a lot of new news available this week. We will absolutely go through everything new there is to talk about, and then have a interesting solo discussion about the state of the meta. There are a bunch of different ways to say the same thing, and I will do my best to do that. In terms of my life, because we do start this show with updates about life, my daughter got 2 godparents over the weekend, and that involved family and friends being in town, and my house could accommodate it, which was absolutely lovely and delightful, and being surrounded by people we love, equally wonderful, but a lot of stress and absolutely zero time for 40K other than showing people the pretty toy soldiers that I paint. And they were polite enough to ooh and ah over them. So that was nice. Hoping to get back into the swing of things in the next week, though, and have the ongoing struggles of Billy Garage Hammer learning custodes for those of you out there. Other than that, please, this week of all weeks, if you're in the chat, and you will get engagement. That said, let's go to our top story.
Our top story.
Top story is there isn't really one this week. There is absolutely no new official news for this week. There are some rumors, and we will engage in some responsible, absolute, blatant rumor mongering. Those rumors being the timing of the NIDS release and potential timing of the data slate. All over the interwebs, there are things that are telling you that NIDS will release on what I believe to be, let me pull up my calendar so I'm right about this. Yes, on September 9th. With previews starting next week. I sincerely hope that's true. I updated the GW community site this morning. They're talking about Ages of Sigmar and Necromunda. It's important for those games to get time, but that time is not particularly interesting to us. Yes, there will be Nova next week, as Scott Dielman points out. We will. Is it next weekend, or is it the weekend of the 2nd or the weekend of the 9th? It's whenever Labor Day is, and I'm on paternity leave, and so that leaves my understanding of time as a total blank circle. But yes, we will definitely talk about Nova coming up because it's one of my favorite events, and one that I actually visited right before COVID hit. But back to news. So NIDS on the 9th, previews probably starting next week. That is the understanding. And I am at weekend of the 2nd. Thank you, Scott. So yeah, we will talk about Nova in much more detail starting next week. That said, a couple of charity events coming, Nova and Charity Hammer. If you can donate to both, please do. If you can donate to either, they're both wonderful events, and all of the money from both goes to charity. If you are on the East Coast, Nova's a little bit easier to attend. You should absolutely go. It's an incredibly well-run event. And if you're on the West Coast, the timing of Charity Hammer works out. It's, invite only as per the event. Back to NIDS, but thank you, Scott, for the digression. The thing that I personally am most excited about is to get a sense of what a codex looks like in 10th, because we have all of the indexes. We know what those look like. I'm curious to see what it is that they do with the codices. How do they give a little bit more variation? I have some friends whose favorite part of this game is mad scientisting the wildest and craziest Rube Goldberg machines of an army together, and they've just about reached the end of what is available in the indices. That's fine. It's a complete rewrite of the entire game system, and you shouldn't expect the level of depth in an index as you would get in a codex for each of the armies. But as we will get to when we get to events, the indices are showing their limits in terms of presenting an interesting and engaging and interesting and evolving, let us say, because what's engaging to everyone is different from person to person. But an interesting and engaging metagame, or interesting and evolving, excuse me, tried that halfway through the cup of coffee, working on it. It's just Eldar all the way from top to bottom, with some other armies trying to fight their way into the pack. The constant refrains that GSC from a power level perspective are right there is pretty much just washed out by player base size, and probably, quite frankly, ease of piloting. Not trying to take anything away from anyone who's winning these events, but I think if you poured truth serum down most of their throats, even they would admit Eldar are one of the easier top level armies over the history of Games Workshop games to pilot. So, like I said, NIDS are coming, and they're going to give us a sense of how they're going to put optionality into the game. Personally, I assume a lot of it is going to come in the form of detachments. It's a really interesting tool that Games Workshop has given them to take the base building blocks of an army, which are the data sheets, and change how they fundamentally function. We've sort of seen a very small smattering of that in the difference between the Gladius detachment for Space Marines and all of the other specialist chapters and what those look like. As that one guy mentions, and I'm going to sort of riff off of this, of bring back close combat GSC. That's one of the reasons I'm most excited to see what detachments can look like, because I think that is a way to, without rewriting every close combat data sheet, inject some life into close combat in the game. And I'm hopeful that, for if anyone watching is a NIDS aficionado and knows what the NIDS Melee Hive Fleet is, that's the one that I'm going to be flipping to first, just to see what it looks like. So we have that, and then the far less substantiated rumor is that the data slate will drop the following week. We don't really know what's in it. At the best that we have is what Stu Black said in the most recent MetaWatch, that it's probably going to lean much more on points, which makes sense, but leaves me nervous, because Eldar are a datasheet and army rules problem first and a points problem second. And I think that the band with which you can point Eldar and have them be both interesting and not overpowering is incredibly small if it exists. And so I will, I personally, as an Eldar player, will shed a tear for them if they get punted into orbit, which is what I think is most likely. Votann went up something like 30% in points from the preview points to what was finally released. And that army just always felt really light on the table. And they still haven't figured out what to do with them in the indices. And I worry that Eldar will have had 8 weeks of fun and then go away for a year and a half until the Codex comes out, which is just, that level of boom bust, I don't think is really fun for anyone, because you have this moment where, I can play with my toys, but they're kind of not fun because they're almost too good. And now I can't play with my toys because they're just atrocious. My guess is that we will know the answer to that in about 3 weeks' time, which will be my first week back from paternity leave. So I'll be extra bleary-eyed. That is all of the news that exists. It's not news, it's rank speculation. It's based truly on just the open source rumors that exist on the interwebs. If you want to know more, Google some of your more clickbaity websites, and they will spam your browser with ads, and then you'll be able to see one or two things. With that, I'm going to very quickly hit what's new, because I like our pre-roll ads, and then we'll move on from there.
What's new?
As I said, nothing. 40K got to eat up most of the spring and summer in terms of GW's release schedule and their marketing, and the other games that make up their portfolio are getting a well-deserved time in the sun. But that means that we in 40K land don't really get anything exciting to look at, which is fine. Age of Sigmar has some wonderful models that proxy for some of those harder ones to find. Closest I can come up with is that for about a minute and a half, Exaction squads were apparently available online. They're not anymore. So with that, let's move on to the very exciting world of what's winning.
What's winning?
Woo boy, is it Eldar. It's Eldar. I'm going to say Eldar a lot, and I say this only because, show that is neither grim nor dark, but that doesn't mean we're not honest. And right now, Eldar are winning everything. I am, barring my child starting to scream in the other room and needing me to end this show really early, I'm going to be saying Eldar a lot. There are 7 events that I chose to cover. Of that, Eldar won 6 of them. Hello, Zach the Bird. Be here for the live show. Of all of them, this is going to be one of the shorter ones, but please join regularly when Colin carries more of the conversation and I'm the plucky sidekick. As I said, 7 events that I'm going to talk about. Eldar won 6 of them. We tend to cover the top 4 lists that went through. Sometimes 4 is 28. Of the 28 lists that I'll be talking about, 13 of them are Eldar. That is a problem. One of the great sources out there on the interwebs that you can get information on the meta from is 40K Meta Monday. It's a WordPress site that a wonderful person whose name I truly don't know puts out. But as this person mentions, Eldar have now 38 GT wins, which put them as the 6th most wins of 9th edition. We've had 10th edition for under 2 months. I think this weekend was probably the 2-month anniversary. Eldar will likely surpass the total amount of Drukhari wins that happened in all of 9th next month. Yes, John, 13 of 28. Yep, the little dog sipping his coffee in hell. This is fine. Here's my coffee mug. Feel unsupervised, Zach. Yes. This was the concern that we voiced a few weeks ago of, hey, we kind of saw this coming, and are you going to really wait till mid-September to fix this? It appears that is the choice they're going to make. In the meantime, there's a whole interesting subset of things, and GSC is not dominating right below it. You have Custodes below that at about 55%, Imperial Knights at 52, Thousand Sons at 56, and then there are obviously the bottom of the barrel factions that are really struggling on the other side. But there's actually a decent spread right below the absolute top, and in just general conversations with people who are past the part of the grieving process is just complaining about it. Absolutely valid part of the grieving process. So you complain about Eldar, and then when you get past that, it's like, all right, so what can we actually say that's interesting? And almost everyone agrees the game is really fun when you play like balanced armies into like balanced armies. There is interesting counterplay. The game lasts through the entire game. It still plays quickly. There are decisions that come up throughout it. There are, to the extent possible, even variations in army building distinctions from the indices. And that part is going to be very interesting. So as Zach the Bird says, we have to wait until September for GW to nuke the elves from orbit. That's where my guess is that it's going to come. I am guessing that they are going to nuke elves into orbit. It's probably going to be massive points increases to their vehicles, rank speculation coming here. And then most of the stuff on foot just doesn't have the rules to keep it going. And at that point, we will see what shakes out from the meta, because we will also have a new NIDS book that will fundamentally change them, change how they play in some capacity, just by virtue of the new detachments. And I would imagine you will see far fewer Eldar. If you don't, we can all have marshmallows and hand out the pitchforks. That said, that's probably coming in about 2 or 3 weeks. So without further ado about the state of the game, which is as people are saying, this is fine. Let's go to the Salt Lake Open. Also, as those of you who have been listening from the beginning heard, I had a very busy weekend, so I'm not as prepared. I'm also doing this alone, and 13 of 28 times talking about Eldari is just not super interesting. So I'm gonna just I will call out all the winners because I think it's nice to hear your name on the internet. I'll never know, but I think it's probably nice. And then I'll look at some of the other factions just to see what's interesting. Biggest event this weekend was the Salt Lake Open of 2023 40K Championships. It was 108 players over 7 rounds, so very big, and won by a man who is just living his best life right now, Ben Jurek. He went 7-0 with Eldari. He did not post a perfect 700 this week. Actually, was that him last week who posted the perfect 700? No, that was Ben Sherwin. Different Ben, same quality of player. But yeah, 7-0 with Eldari. Cody Giroux in second place with Eldari. Evan Stump in third place with Eldari. So your top 3 at the largest event of this weekend were Eldari. We have Rich Kilton in fourth. He brought Custodes. I'm playing Custodes right now, so let's take a quick look. Blade Captain, Shield Captain Trajan, double Caladius Grav Tank, triple Warden, 6s, 2 Assassins, a Calidus and an Eversur, and 2 Exaction Squads. Why, thank you, that one guy. He says I'm doing a wonderful job, and I take blatant pandering. Ben McJurek. I've heard that's his new name. Okay, so that is, the Caladius build, personally, I am not as big of a fan of, just because I think that Caladius will delete one Eldari thing and then die on the backswing because it's only a 5-up invul. But, I also just kind of don't want to spend that much money on Forge World at the moment. But congrats to Rich Kilton with his 4th place with Custodes and first non-Eldari finish. Hopping back over here, what do we got? We have next up, we have let's scroll up to this week because it's more useful to talk about. The CCBB 2023 40K in Ottawa, Canada. This is one of the bigger events up in Canada every year. And this one was, unsurprisingly, won by Eldari. Tim Dietlifs, who we talk about a lot, won. Again, not a perfect 600 on his 6-0. So, but very good job, Tim. Congratulations on the big win. We have Zach Comeo, Comeau. I'm really bad at that many vowels at the end of a name. But he's of the lovely team 40K Kangaroo Court. That's a fun one. Zach also had Eldari. Like I said, guys, just there's only so much Eldari I can talk about. So let's look at what Nick Yagiello brought with Necrons. Necrons are one of those fun armies that have truly the absolutely unkillable brick, and there are just some armies that can't kill 20 warriors or 10 Lich Guard and the Crypto Thralls. What Nick brought were 3 Hexmark Destroyers, who are very annoying, an Overlord, a Transcendent Catan, 3 2s of Crypto Thralls, 10 Lich Guard, 3 2s of Locust Heavy Destroyers, 6 Tomb Blades, Canoptic Reanimator, and 3 Doomsday Arcs. That is an interesting, more parking lot list with just the one unkillable infantry brick. I actually think the Lich Guard are the more killable of the 2, but that could also just be because that's what I hit with my entire army. What one that isn't Eldari, Zach asks? Well, just wait about 3 more events and you'll find out. So that's Nick Yagiello's 3rd place Necrons. And then we have Matthew Salaris of Happy Wargaming with Deathwatch. Definitely the Marines that people are gravitating towards. I like them because they have 3 damage Thunderhammers. He has a Captain, a Watchmaster with the Tome of I'm a Mini Gilliman, Tome of Ectoclades, and a Watchmaster, big Desolation Squad. He is running this as the Death Watch, so no Bolter Discipline to go with it. 2 Inceptors with the Assault Bolters. I have to give those units credit. Being able to drop down 3 inches and clear off a backfield chaff unit is wonderful. And honestly, even just dropping down near an Eldar support character and picking it off, and then being a little annoying for them to kill. Great. 1 infiltrator squad, a Proteus kill team with, let's see, bikes and 4 Terminators. So 5 veterans, 1 bike, 4 Terminators. And then he has another Proteus kill team with 6 veterans and 3 Terminators and 1 dude. And that is repeated. So this was the problem that I had when I tried to build a Deathwatch army. You ended up with a Custodes army model count, but not necessarily Custodes army durability. That said, you do have more jank and potentially more hitting power. I mean, the Desolation Squad is just always wonderful. But that was what Matthew Solaris brought with to CCBB 4th place. Moving along, Roll for Damage 2023 in Fulham, Australia. So we've hit North America. Let's see what they're doing down under. That was won by, surprise, surprise, Eldari. The individual who did so being Tyson Whitelaw of the Indomitable Phalanxes. There you go. Eldari, again, not the perfect 600 points. So there is a standard that Eldari has set that just so many are not holding up to. I can probably take down this. You're doing a great job. I don't quite need that much validation. We have James Mann in 2nd place with Imperial Knights. Let's see. I'm guessing 2 bigs, 7 smalls. No, this is 3 bigs, 3 smalls, and an assassin. Canis, 2 Crusaders, triple Warglaves, and an Eversher. Okay. Knights don't like seeing Eldar because Eldar kill them very quickly. But James Mann of the Anti-Meta Meteor team. Fun team names this week. Then we have Bradley MC for the Power Stancers with Custodes. As I said earlier, Custodes interest me, so let's see what he had. Assuming Bradley is a he. Blade Champ, Shield Captain, Trajan. Trajan, the big thing to know with Trajan is take a look at what FAQ your event is running. If they're doing WTC and Trajan works, where specifically works with damage reduction so that Trajan's unit hits at full damage, then Trajan is wonderful. And that's the WTC ruling. The GW ruling that I've heard from Tacoma is that the damage reduction does not. Damage reduction works against Trajan. So units go to 1 damage, he goes to 2 damage. In that case, you're probably better off with the free strat from the captain. But those 3 characters, Blade Champ, Shield Captain, Trajan, 1 big 9 of guard, 1 prosecutor unit, 5 Alaris, which are the Terminators, 2 6s of Wardens, a Calidus Assassin, an Eversur Assassin, and an Exaction Squad. I don't know. There's something that tickles me about the amount of assassins that show up in Custodes armies. I've always, since I was a small child, I've enjoyed the assassins in 40K, and it's nice to see them showing up. It'd be nice if the Calidus Assassin was ever available for purchase. And then in 3rd place, to continue that Eldari, we have Sam Young, also the Indomitable Phalanxes. So Tyson and Sam, the same team with the same army, with the same faction, came 1st and 4th at Roll for Damage 2023. Excuse me. We have the Gateway Open 2023 in Collinsville, Illinois. 70 players, 6 rounds. 1st and 2nd place were Eldari. Let's see who those 2 players were. We have Brent Simon of the Hogs of War with Eldari, and Austin Howland of Outlanders Yallhammer with Eldari as well. Brent went the perfect 6-0. Austin 5-0-1. That said, we have a champion here in Ryan Verbeck, 3rd place with Nids, who also was undefeated, just with a draw. Into Austin there in the 5th round. So this list that I'm about to talk to you about managed to pull a draw against Eldar at the top table at the end of a GT. Worth looking at. We got a Death Leaper. We've got a Hive Tyrant on foot, and we have Old One Eye. 2 Biovores, 2 Carnifexes in a unit, an Exocrine, 3 Lictors, 2 Pyrovores, 2 Tyrannofexes with the Flamers, and 6 Zoanthropes, 3 Zoanthropes, 3 Zoanthropes. So maybe Naden was onto something with his old One Eye and 2 Friends plan. You're at least seeing it show up here again. But the triple Lictor gives you triple Lictor, and the double Biovore honestly give you phenomenal mission play. And then the big bugs are probably just hard enough to really give people a tough time while you're crushing it on the mission. Zoanthropes still do damage. They're a little swingier, I think, than they used to be, but absolutely, this is a list that can put the hurt on. You don't necessarily want to get close to old One Eye and 2 of his friends either. They will punch you apart. So that was Ryan Verbeek. And then Connor Johnson from Ballers on a Budget with Thousand Suns, 5 and 1. And let's see what Connor brought in the Thousand Suns. Ahriman and Magnus, 2 Infernal Masters and a Sorcerer. We got 10 Rubrics with Flamers, 5 Rubrics with Flamers, 5 Rubrics with Flamers, 10 Terminators, 3 Enlightened Zangors, those little guys on discs, 2 Rhinos, 3 Flamers, and a Changeling. This similarly, you got Changeling and Enlightened for your mission play. You've got do not get within the double move and Flamer range of a couple of units, the Terminators to bounce all over the board, and Magnus to do Magnus-y things. This is an army that hits incredibly hard if you get close, but if you can somehow get close enough, you can bully Thousand Suns. He says as he drinks his coffee and has fond memories back to his most recent outing into Thousand Suns, where I did not execute as well as I should have. But yeah, this army hits very hard. They have a lot of jank, and what Cabal points let them do is it's a level of flexibility that a lot of armies don't have. They just don't have that amount of different options every turn for what they can do. So there is Thousand Suns, as you really learn it and understand what you can do, the army levels up a lot. But that is what Connor Johnson brought to the Gateway Open. The 2023 U.S. Goonhammer Open over in Baltimore, Maryland. Once the site of the GW headquarters on U.S. soil. I believe it no longer exists, but they had the Rhino. They had the big Space Marine. This was won by Matthew Burgoon with Inari. So not technically Eldari, even though it is. It's just you have to make Yvrain your warlord, and then you get to splash what I imagine is going to be 3 Ravagers. Yes, it is. 3 Hornets, 3 Ravagers, 3 Warwalkers, 3 Warp Spiders, 2 Shadow Spectre units, a Ranger, and then the characters, Incarn and Yvrain. Illic, Death Jester, Farseer. So this is the MSU shoot you to death. I wanted to bring Ravagers instead of Fire Prisms and didn't feel like bringing the Wraith Knight. That is what the version Matthew Burgoon brought, and Matthew won a GT, and I never have, so I cannot mock. I bow to the Inari Overlord of the day. In second place, we've got Ken Knox with Deathwatch. Actually, so this is a fun one. First and fourth place are Inari. Second and third place are Deathwatch. Deathwatch's special thing is hunting Xenos, and when the top of the meta is Xenos, that's pretty good. That said, we have here for Ken in second place, the captain that I love, which is the Thief of Secrets with Twin Lightning Claws, which give you 2 damage lightning claws with like an obscene amount of attacks. So that guy really slaps. Captain, Librarian, Phobos Armor, Watchmaster with the Tome, Desolation Squad, 10 of them, 2 3s of Eradicators, 2 Inceptors, 2 Infiltrators, Proteus kill team with, it looks like 4 Termies. Repeat that twice, and 2 exaction squads because GW made a math mistake. Scott Dealman points out that Ken and Mark are also top players here too. Yes, I sincerely do not want to take anything away from anyone who's winning with these armies. Winning 6 games is a testament to player skill as much as anything else, and army selection is part of player skill. There's just only so many times I can talk about Pick 3 of Hornets, Fire Prisms, Ravagers, Wraith Knights, D-Cannons, and Warwalkers in some combination and make it be interesting. Hello, Ben McDurick. It's only Lad on this end of things. Colin is on a work trip being a responsible grown-up. I'm on paternity leave, so it is responsible for me to talk to you about 40K for some period of time. That is Ken with Deathwatch. Let's see what Sean Reynolds, also of Deathwatch, brought. Sean has that same captain, Twin Lightning Claws, Thief of Secrets. That makes me happy. Captain Gravis armor, Librarian Phobos armor, Watchmaster with the Tome, and then 10 veterans with 4 frag cannons and 4 thunderhammers. Repeats that unit twice. 10 desolation, 3 eradicators, 3 threes of inceptors, 2 infiltrator squads. So none of the kill teams. Quite frankly, I'm way more interested in the veterans personally. I think 200 points for 10 dudes with 4 3-damage thunderhammers and 4 frag cannons is a spicy meatball. But that is what Sean brought. And then 4th place was David Edelman with Inari, different team. So let's see what David did to fit. Let's guess 3 Ravagers as well. David brought the let me be sure here. Yes, David brought the Wraith Guard. I am surprised that Wraith Guard are still being played when they don't have pistols. But David also David enjoys David's Dark Eldar, double Ravager, triple Scourge. Take your pick of annoying, very efficient shooting, and that's what he shoved in here with Inari. Congrats to David on David's 4th place. Moving along to the pecking order, Rise of Kings GT in Olympia, Washington, 54 players, 5 rounds, won by not Eldari. There is a top 4 that does not have Eldari in it. It was Thousand Suns, Orcs, Chaos Demons, and Chaos Space Marines. Now, 5th place was Eldari, but it's the only one in the top 10. So credit to the folks over in Olympia. Let's see how they did it. We have Alex Pina with Thousand Suns. As we discussed, Thousand Suns hyper lethal at short range, lots of fun and funky tricks. David brought Armon, 2 Exalted Sorcerers, each on disc, 3 Infernal Masters, Magnus, and a Sorcerer. So for those keeping track at home, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,100 points of characters. That's fun. And then 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fascinating audio video there for those of you keeping track. 5 5s of Flamer rubrics with places for those characters to hide. The fun thing that those squads get to do is at least one of them gets to act both in the shooting phase and the opponent's turn, and they will hurt those characters Overwatch in nasty ways. So it is really challenging to move close to a Thousand Suns army. 1 Mutolith Vortex Beast, 2 Rhinos, 3 Flamers, and the Blue Scribes. Blue Scribes are a phenomenal mission playing tool. I kit bashed my own back in 2007 because the rules came out and no model existed. Still sitting on my shelf. It's a kind of fun model. So congrats to Alex with Thousand Suns. All right, 2nd place, Tarzan, less than 3. Tarzan with a heart. If anyone currently watching knows who Tarzan is from the pecking order, I will shout them out by their given name. But also, if they choose to go by Tarzan, Tarzan they shall be. Orcs. Let's see. We got Gaz. That's always fun. Captain Badrock. Morzog Scragbad. So triple named characters. 10 Flash Skits. 10 Gretchen. 3 Grot tanks, which I will admit I don't know what they are, but they have rocket launchers, so I imagine they're reasonably shooty as far as Orky vehicles go. There are 9 of those, 3 3s of Grot tanks, 10 Mega Knobs, 6 custom Mega Cannon mech guns, Three threes of Squeakhog Boys. Lilu is sitting right behind me, so we all know I have an affection for pigs. And 6 Storm Boys. This is super different than what we've seen from Orcs, which in general has been much more Green Tide melee pressure. This is taking some of the more tricky shooty bits and still definitely pressure 3/3s of Squeakhog Boys, the Storm Boys. Those will get up and ruin your day. Gaz is not something you want to touch you, but just leading into the more orky shooting. That's kind of a fun and interesting take. So congratulations to Tarzan. Marty O'Connell with Chaos Demons came in third. Marty was 4-0-1, so with a draw, also undefeated, always fun. Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Demon Prince with Wings, Fate Weaver, and Shalaxi. So big bug version of Chaos Demons. 2 units of 10 Blue Horrors, 2 units of 3 Nurglings, and 2 units of 5 Fleshhounds. So the big bugs doing the work, the little gribbly bits running around, letting you actually play 40k, and then hoping you don't run into Eldar, because they can get within 18 inches of you and then kill you, which is sad. But as we established, there was no Eldar, so congrats to Marty with their wonderful result. And then in 4th place, we have Jason Ryder, Chaos Space Marines, which I actually honestly think is such a slept-on army. But let's see what Jason has. Jason has 2 Nurgle Warpsmiths and a Slaanesh Warpsmith. Okay, you have my attention. 10 Cultists, a Hellbrute, okay, triple Khorne Lord of Skulls, and a Noctilith Crown. Yes, that is certainly an army that, if there's no Eldar hanging around the top, can do wonderfully. Khorne Lords of Skulls are absolutely delightful models. They have some nasty guns on them. They punch hard in melee, and 3 Warpsmiths are definitely going to help those guys out. This is a man who woke up in the morning and chose violence. So congrats to Jason for their 4th place result with the Lord of Kegs. And then the last event that we're going to talk about today is the Grimdark 14 Index Hammer in Stockholm, Sweden. So really trying to give you a global perspective on what the meta is doing. 54 players, 5 rounds. This one was won by Axel Ryden. It says it was Leagues of Votann on BCP. It was not. It was Eldari. Axel, congratulations on your win. This is the all tank version, no Wraith Knight. Cool. Congrats, Axel. WTC scoring 16, 217s, 220s. This is part of the fun of Scandinavian events. You get to say delightful names like Bilbo Goranson. Congrats, Bilbo. Give up that ring. I'm sure you hear that way too much. My apologies, Bilbo. But Gene Stealer Cult. So actually the first Gene Stealer Cult we've talked about here. All of the characters that you would expect: double Nexos, triple Primus, double Reductus, and 2 Kellermorphs, Biophagus, Clamavus. Let's see, we've got 125 of Demo Charge Acolytes, and then we have 65 Neophytes, 10 Aberrants, and a Ridge Runner. That's basically what people have settled on. It does the math on that is just as busted as what Eldar have. It's just a different way to skin the same cat. Congrats to Bilbo, undefeated, just with a draw in the middle round. Got that 10. Joel Larson brought Custodes. I love a Custodes list, both because it's short and because I have my Custodes right here. Oh, Joel, okay, your formatting here on your list is interesting. So we've got Trajan, a Shield Captain, Lord Inquisitor Kyrodraxis, always interesting, a Blade Champion, and a Calidus Assassin. Okay, and then we have 4 Custode Guards. We have that unit twice, one with a Vexilla, one with not. 5 Prosecutors, 2 6s of Wardens, and 2 Grav Tanks. So no Terminators in this list. I'm the only mad human being who likes the bikes. I just like a unit that can travel 24 inches. But I am very apparently wrong about that. It's not going to stop me. Chirodraxis is fun because that whatever unit she joins can't be shot outside of 18 inches, and that's just a nice thing for custos to have. But that is what Joel brought to the what was this? Grimdark 14. And then finally we have Razvan Alexa with Eldari. As I said, 13 of the 28 armies that were discussed this week were Eldari. Houston, we have a problem. It's a wonderful movie for everyone to go watch. There is a wide variety of things. Clicking through the list, you got Vipers, you got Lynxes, you got Hornets, you got Fire Prisms, you got Ravagers, you got Scourges, Wraith Knights, Wraith Guard. That's your heavy shooting. Warp Spiders and Shadow Specters generally are the mission playing tools. This list has Dark Reapers, 75 points just for Tempest Launcher. Totally a valid amount of points, especially with some missile launchers that can do some work. That said, I have managed to talk for 41 minutes at you, all on my lonesome, and that feels like a sufficient amount of time. So unless someone jumps into the chat in the next, 10 or so seconds, I will do one quick shout out for those of you listening in the Discord. Please join the Fantasy Football League. I believe we only have 3 people signed up so far, and it's been a fun time the past couple of years, and I would like for it to continue. Invite your friends if necessary from outside the Discord. You would have the link, and you can do it. But that will be fun. That will be starting up, so everyone will have to deal with Colin and I lightly poking fun at each other about how much better my football team is than his. For those of you outside the United States, that will make even less sense, but my football team is better than his. He's not here to argue with it. Scott is wishing everyone to have a great week, and I'm going to echo that, Scott. Thank you for everyone who joined me live. For everyone who didn't, I hope you enjoyed the semi-dulcet tones of my own voice. We will have Colin here next week. We will hopefully have actual information about NIDS coming up to talk about. But until then, he has not been Colin. I have been Billy. This has been This Week in 40K, show about the Grimdark that is neither grim nor dark. Everyone, please have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.